morning, Blue. Hope everybody's doing okay. My name's Dave Jackson. Welcome back to the Priory Podcast. This is welcome back to my living room. So today on the podcast, we have a young lady that did 20 years in the Air Force, retired Master Sergeant. She was a public health troop, and she did some work with the IG. She was also an instructor. She toured in 2005 on the And the Beat Goes On tour, and the 2009 To Dream tour. She's also a Roger winner in the female vocalist category. Now, back in the day, we knew her as Aisha Smith. Then she got married, she met a guy, and now she's Aisha Davis. So please welcome to the podcast, Roger winner, female vocalist, retired Master Sergeant of the United States Air Force, Aisha Davis. On you.
Aisha, dear, how are you? Thank you for joining me tonight.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me to be on this. This is really awesome.
It's the least I can do. I've been looking forward to talking to you. I know we had some scheduled conflicts, but we got it worked out, and here we are. Here we are. How's everything going? How's the family? What are you guys up to now? Before we start talking blue stuff, give me an update on the family.
So we're a blues family. I got Ian Davis is my husband. So for those of you who don't know, but yeah, so I have a 10-year-old daughter, Aria, and I know 10, yeah. It's crazy because she's like about to cross over into middle school, which is like blowing my mind already. And then I have a 4-year-old son, Isaiah, which both of my kids, it's interesting. They both have, so Aria, is Italian for melody. So they both have something musical in their name. So Isaiah, his middle name is Symphony. So
that's awesome. That's very creative.
Very thought out. I wanted my daughter to have my initials and I wanted my son to have Ian's initials. So they both have our initials. So it's Aria Sarai and Isaiah Symphony Davis.
Nice.
Yeah. They're keeping us busy. We're both retired and we're out here in Florida now. We've kind of, just kind of establishing home base. So we did a lot of traveling. We love to travel. Thanks to Tops and Blue, we really got that itch for traveling and so we still do quite a bit of that, but now we're making Florida our home base. We're out here near Tampa and Apollo Beach. So enjoying life.
How long you been in Florida?
We've been here for almost about 2 years or so. So yeah, we're just kind of settling into our home and everything. Still unpacking boxes, from all our moves.
About hurricanes or anything like that?
Actually, yes. So thankfully we're not that close to the water, but we did have to evacuate the last hurricane, and they did lose power, and there was some significant damage in Tampa, but it's thankfully our home didn't get damaged, and we're still here, but definitely lots of fun evacuating and stuff like that, and helping the neighbors. Which one thing I do love is seeing everybody kind of come together. So that's awesome.
Well, I would think that would just be a natural theme in Florida, helping each other. I mean, if you move to Florida, you kind of know what you may be getting into.
Right.
I always say to people that move to like to Erie, Pennsylvania, you know like 6 months out of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I actually had to learn the hard way. I remember my first week when I was stationed here for the first time, and like the first week there was an evacuation, and I did not know Florida life, and so I didn't even have a home yet. I was living in the base hotel, base lodging, and just trying to figure out where I'm gonna live. And they're like, "We're evacuating this week," so. I didn't even know where to go. So they have like a safe house, safe haven. And so I ended up going to one of my new coworkers' home and just kind of figuring it out from there. But yeah, that's definitely a part of Florida life. So
wow. Well, yeah. God bless you for putting up with all that stuff down there. People love it. And people, I'm like, you know what you're getting into if you go to Florida. So if you accept that, that's part of the deal, I guess. So,
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, beautiful sunshine, beautiful
Yeah,
weather,
yeah.
majority of the time,
It's a trade, right? It's a
yeah,
trade.
it is.
Yeah, it is.
I'll keep it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I get it. So, let's start. I've had a theme for the last, well, pretty much the whole time I've been doing this of doing some history before you made, your first tour. So, did you see a TIB show before you even applied?
Yes, actually, that's what made me audition. I saw my first tour at my first base. I was stationed at Nellis in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it was 2003 was my first show that I saw, and I was amazed. And so I did not know that the Air Force had anything like this. So I had done show choir in high school and stuff like that. So to see people on stage singing and dancing and
Mhm.
just all the different genres, and I ate it up. I loved it, and I just felt like I had to figure out how I could be a part of this. So that's when I first saw. I remember just seeing the show for the first time and just being wowed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What did you when you applied? I'm guessing you built it because you built a tape and sent it in, right?
Yes.
Did you do that for
Uh,
the 2005 tour or the 2000? Did you get turned down before, or did you get straight into it?
So actually, I auditioned the first time I auditioned. I didn't even know what I was doing. I sent I had my friend record me and sent in a video online.
Right,
And I think I auditioned in 2000 and for the 2004 cast, but I did not make it. It's
right.
my first time. But I didn't know, and even when I auditioned, I remember I decided I was going to be creative and I did my own version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I created like this jazz version of it, and I auditioned and I got, to the worldwide, and I did not know what to expect and everything, but I was really not
Oh,
ready,
so you
honestly.
actually got to your first audition tape. You got to go to your first worldwide, but you
Yes,
didn't
yes,
make it past that point.
right,
Gotcha,
yes.
gotcha.
Yeah,
So
so
you did your version of Over the Rainbow.
yes, I did my own version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I think they loved, but unfortunately, with Tops and Blue, as they want to see how you are with, an accompaniment and with the band and stuff like that. So they ended up giving me another song to sing for Worldwide,
Oh,
which yeah,
they changed it up on you.
they did, which was, it was an experience. And I think for me, I wasn't really that comfortable with the song.
Uh-huh.
It was a Toni Braxton song, which Toni Braxton I love, but at the time, that her voice was a lot more mature than my voice. So
Okay.
so I did song was that? It was How Could an Angel Break My Heart? Which has a really low, sultry, part of it. And at that time, I was like a first soprano, so it
Uh-huh.
was really hard for me to even hit some of those low notes. But I remember I was so green and just
Well, how did that performance go at that worldwide? Obviously I'm not gonna remember. I'm sure I was there, but I'm not gonna remember all these acts. But
um
how did it go?
I think you could tell I was nervous. So let me just kind of give you the picture of it. So I had braces at the time. I
Oh,
was
I
very
do remember that. I do
I
remember
had
the break.
braces. I didn't know that I was going to have to move around on the stage because I had knew nothing about Tops and Blue. I didn't know what to expect. So I brought the wrong shoes. So I had to tape my shoes to my feet. Like it was it was a sad story, but it was a lesson learned, and it was an incredible experience, but embarrassing nonetheless.
Yeah,
And then I just, I actually found some pictures of me during that. I mean, I just wasn't prepared.
right.
But you know what? I didn't let that stop me. I let it motivate me, and the next year I came back ready. So.
Who was your team leads in 2004?
2004, I remember, I think that was the year I had it was Libby and Derek, Derek Wright. I remember them as my leads, and it was just they really did help work with me.
Yeah, yeah,
I just think mentally and just I wasn't ready that year, but it was exciting nonetheless.
yeah. What was your first impression on the opening night? on that 2004 Worldwide? What was when you walked into the theater?
Oh
What was
my gosh.
what do
I
you
was
think?
overwhelmed
Yeah.
because I had never, although I had done show choir, I had never done anything to this magnitude. And
Mhm.
so, I honestly was a very shy singer at the time. And so I liked to sing, but I didn't have a lot of confidence.
Right.
And I think that was something that I had to build even in that year and try and figure out, who am I as a singer and what do I want to kind of how do I want to represent myself? So I just kind of had to learn that because I didn't even think about any of those things. I just knew I wanted to be on that stage and sing.
Right. Right. Right.
So, but it was overwhelming, but it was so awesome to see so many beautiful, like amazing talent, talented people come together in one location that are in the Air Force. So I was
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
excited about that too.
The when you left that Worldwide and obviously you didn't know if you got accepted because you didn't hear anything from your base at home, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
right? So you didn't hear anything.
Right.
When you left, what was your motivation? Did you immediately go home and go, I'm going to work on this song, I'm going to work on these, I'm going to work on this? Did you have a plan to get to the 2005 Worldwide, or did you just kind of like take some time off, then work your way into it?
So, initially I was sad. Obviously, you have those
Right,
hopes of being on tour and you picture yourself up there and everybody's just so nice and friendly and you just want to be a part of it. You can't
right,
explain it, but you just want to be there. So, I had the initial sadness, but I took that and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go back next year and I'm gonna have my song. Now I'm gonna work on my dances, my improv. Like I didn't know any of that stuff. I was not
right,
prepared for any of it. I just thought I was gonna go and like sing a song and then hopefully be picked. So,
right. Yeah, you didn't know about all
but
the interviews and all that kind of stuff.
right, I
Right,
didn't know any of that. So it was
right,
just, and I didn't know any prior Tops and Blue members or anything to help like guide me or, prep or anything. So it actually motivated me. So it gave me, something to work towards.
yeah. What did you do for your 2005?
So
Uh,
my 2005, I did At Last at a James.
okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
which I love that song. My grandmother loves when I sing that song. So I did that. I knew that, I could put music to it and I can just be comfortable singing it. And so that was my song.
and they used it. They kept with it. You didn't have to change.
Yes.
You got to Worldwide. So
Right.
when you got there to that Worldwide, where you're since you've experienced it and you can kind of relate to your fellow team members what you experienced the year before, did it give you a lot more confidence going to the 2005 Worldwide, or were you still pretty nervous about the whole thing? And was it? I'm guessing it was probably still the same kind of format when you got to 2005.
Yeah, honestly, I was excited. I was still nervous because you never know. There's some amazing talent that don't make it on the tour,
Right,
and just for whatever reason, so I was still super nervous, but I was excited and I felt more ready. I felt more confident, because I knew what to expect and I kind of prepared for a lot of the different areas and just try to see what I could work on,
right,
myself like throughout that year. And so I felt a lot more confident, a lot more ready, but still nervous, because you never know.
yeah,
And you never know what talent is going to be there either.
right,
So,
yeah. You might just get there and go, oh, okay, I get,
right.
I'm giving this my best shot. Yeah,
Right. We'll see.
yeah. Who was your team leads that year in 2005?
I honestly think I had the same ones. Trying to remember. I think I had the same ones, to be honest. I think
Yeah,
I had Libby and Derek that year, and then the next year is when I had different ones. Or the
okay,
next time I auditioned, but that's
yeah,
later on.
yeah. Down a few years down the road.
Right.
So you get through Worldwide. You get through. Did you interview with Chief at that
I
Worldwide?
I
Both of them.
did.
How'd that go?
I was terrified. He was just so, um so intimidating. I think also sometimes his nonverbals,
Yeah, yeah,
can make you even more intimidated, especially if you
right.
don't know him. So I was terrified, but you know,
Who was on the?
and
Do
then
you remember who was on the board with him? Who was in the room with him? Do you remember?
um I don't know. I don't remember because I know I was in the boardroom 3 times, so I don't
Really?
remember. Yeah.
I mean, on the same worldwide?
No,
Oh,
just
okay,
in
okay.
general.
Oh, just
Just yeah.
overall,
So
yeah, okay.
it's kind of that part is a little blurry.
Well, to be fair, I think everybody I've talked to so far does not remember, other than Chief, does not remember
Right.
who
Yes.
sat
Chief
beside
was
him.
there.
Yeah, like, I don't recall who did that. I don't remember.
Right.
Wow. So you get through worldwide, you get back home. Were you pretty confident before you got back home? Were you relatively confident? What do you think? Between 1 and 10, where do you think you were at?
I think I was probably about let's say maybe about a five because I still didn't know, if I was what they were looking for that year. Because I know that there was some amazing talent even the year before that didn't make it. And so I was kind of like, but I was more confident than I was the year before. I will say that. So the year before, I just didn't, I was just shooting in the dark. So,
Yeah.
but this time I felt more confident. I'd say, yeah, probably about a five or a six. Because there's so much amazing talent, that was there. So you just never know.
Did you think that when you got off and did your main act on the final on your show night, did you come off
Mhm.
stage thinking I nailed it, or I didn't peak, or I peaked at dress rehearsal, or how do you think you did in that one?
Um, I definitely felt like I did a lot better than the year before.
Okay.
I would say, like I said, I was still coming out of my shell. So I was still kind of a shy singer
Mhm.
at the time. And so I was like, I think I did good. I was very shy. And I honestly, going on tour is what helped me, come into myself as more of a singer. So
Yeah.
I was still like, I think I did good.
Right. Right. So you get back to your base after Worldwide. You're winding down. You're waiting to hear, and then how did your base let you know?
Let's see. How did I think I'm trying to remember.
Well, it couldn't have been that impressive if you have to think that hard about. There must not have been a lot of pomp and circumstance.
I
Send
I
you an
honestly
email.
I think I had I got a call. I got a call at home. I want to say, was it Miss Glow? It might have been Miss Glow that called me. I'm
So
trying to
the
remember.
base didn't let you know. The agency
I'm,
did.
I'm trying to remember. Um, so to be honest, that year personally was a rough year. And so I had a lot going on around the time
Okay.
that I auditioned, so I didn't know what to expect. So I think I got a call at home, and maybe I might have not been at work. And I think I got a call at home. I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago.
Well, I mean, the base. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm sure somebody will correct me on this, the agency calls the base and the wing commander or the base commander or squad
Yeah.
usually lets people know. I would have been shocked if it's just, Glow called up and said, "Hey, guess what?"
Right. Or she might have been maybe that might have been worldwide. To call
So
me if I wanted to go. I
would it be
remember
like
her
a
calling.
no commander's call, no bringing you to the commander's office and saying, "Hey, guess what? I got good news for you."
Actually, you know what? I take that back. I take that back. Because I was at McDill at that time. So at McDill, yes, I did get something they gathered everyone in the office. I
Okay.
remember. Okay,
All
so
right.
I'm confusing worldwide versus the
Yeah.
actual.
Right.
Yes. So they gathered everyone in the office and they all came down and they let me know. The commander and everybody
Oh.
came and yeah, yeah, like I said, it was a long story short, it was a really rough season for me. So I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to go on tour.
Okay.
But
All right.
it was I was excited because they did come down and honestly my I didn't know. No, that was Nellis. I'm sorry. I'm mixing the two. The Nellis, they came down. Yes. And
Okay.
they all came and surprised me. So,
Well, I'm glad we got that cleared up. I was getting to be,
yeah,
I was
sorry.
getting, I was getting to be
It's been a long
retroactively,
time.
I was going to get retroactively angry here for a minute. I'm like, wait a second, they didn't call you?
No,
That's
they did.
crazy.
They came, they gathered the whole office together. I remember. Yes.
Good, good. Now, your Roger performance, was that 2005 or 2009?
2009.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute then. Hold that
Yes.
down. We'll put a pin in
Yes.
that one.
Okay.
Um, so you get to staging.
Hmm.
What, a few months later, a few weeks later? How
Let's
was it?
see. It was a few, probably a few, I want to say it was like a month or two later.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was your staging experience?
Staging. Whew. Staging was intense. Because for, I thought, again, I went in not knowing what to expect. I didn't have anybody telling me, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you do that.
Right,
And I was not athletic. So although I was in the military, I was not athletic. So I did not know, all that it was going to entail.
right.
Um, so it was definitely almost like it was a boot camp for me.
Oh, it was musical boot camp for me.
Yes, it was musical boot
Absolutely.
camp.
Yep.
Perfect way to put it. But I loved it, honestly. Once I kind of got in the groove, but I remember being so tired, like I couldn't even and I don't know, like you're like when you're so swollen and so tired, you don't know which way is left or right. You just
Oh,
know put on your put on your uniform and go.
yeah. Well, I mean, it gets to the point where, you do so many hours in staging that it kind of becomes not automatic and robotic because there's just so much going on. You got to learn so much in such a short period of time. But
Right.
but you're, but you just kind of know what to do. I mean, once you understand the sequence of what the typical day at staging is like, you kind of get on that line of this is what I got to do today.
Yeah,
But you never expect a 16-hour, 20-hour shift on stage. Stuff like
absolutely
that.
not.
Yeah, you never expect that kind of thing. No, there's no way. So you get through staging okay. Did you have any problems at staging? Did you get injured? Anything happen like that at staging?
No, I actually went through staging pretty smoothly overall. I think my first tour, I had it kind of easy. I was wardrobe. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
um
that's once you get on the road, that's kind of an easy.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as learning the show, dancing, no, I love that part of it.
No
Yeah,
shin
just
splints, nothing like that. No injuries.
no injuries, surprisingly.
Nice.
I think it was later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was a spring chicken then, so
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right. I was
Now we're
very
talking.
young.
So we're talking 20 years ago now. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 2005. Wow, exactly 20 years.
Yeah. That's crazy to
Yeah.
think about.
Right.
So you get through staging, okay. Now you're on the road for your 2005 tour. Tell me the theme of that tour. The title again was
Um,
what was it again?
and the beat goes
The
on.
beat goes down. That's right. So tell me the theme of that show.
So the theme was everything, it was all around, the beat. And it was a variety. They had we started off with um I remember doing putting on the Ritz.
Oh,
And,
okay.
just we had our white wigs and the flapper dresses and it was so exciting. And we were learning how to do, all kinds of, 20s style dancing. And I remember I got to be in a trio. Um and we did just a variety. And then it kind of went through the times. And
Yeah.
so of, different
Was it
types of
different
songs,
decades?
from
Or was it different genres, or was it different decades?
it was a combination. It was different genres, different decades, because we started off with the jazz style, the 20s style music,
What
doing all the flips and all the, we
What was the
did and then
opening number? What was the opening number for the show?
I think it was putting on the Ritz.
Was it putting on the Ritz? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Um I'm trying to remember.
Well, I
It's
mean,
been
you toured twice. There's a lot of cross.
Yeah, so they do cross. So forgive me if
No,
I'm wrong. If
totally.
anybody,
I
feel
totally
free to
expect
correct
that.
me because I haven't
Yeah.
even seen that show in so long. But I remember doing, yeah, I probably should have looked at some of these.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's tough.
But yeah, I remember putting on the Ritz being in the early style, and then us doing where we did some couples like dancing, and we did like a lot of I want to say like foxtrot and like flips and fun stuff, swing music.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I can't remember the song that we did with
Oh,
that. But I
okay.
just remember putting on the Ritz very vividly.
So the theme was just generally going through the genres and going through the decades and just moving on from that point.
Right.
So you had
Yeah,
your
and then we
your
did,
country set.
I think we did then we had a set where we did like a divas set and like a guys set. I remember that. And we did I was Gladys Knight on tour. So that was my big thing
Mhm.
for myself was Gladys. And so we did like a whole Gladys set.
Okay.
So it was which was pretty cool. Um but it was a combination of kind of going through the genres and also through the decades, I would say.
Right. So you did you get to the tour okay as far as injuries? You weren't hurt or anything on tour? Do you have any major medical issues? Or did you just get right
I
through?
don't remember any major medical issues at all on my first tour. Like I said, I think it was pretty smooth sailing as far as that goes. I remember, I mean, getting sick a couple times, but outside of that, it wasn't anything major that happened.
Nothing that would
So,
maybe threaten to go home or something like that. Nothing like that.
right, nothing crazy. I was honestly trying to stay like under the radar. I did not want Chief
That's
to
a good
notice me in
plan.
any
That's a
negative
good
reason.
plan. That's a great plan, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you know how tour goes, but
yeah,
there was plenty of that, elsewhere. So I was just trying to kind of stay quiet,
right, right. No, I get that.
keep out of
So,
trouble.
so how many? Do you remember how many shows you did in that tour? I've read.
Um, I
I've got the book upstairs, the history of tops. And
oh, you do?
I'm
Oh,
upstairs. I forgot to bring it down. Otherwise, because there's so
man.
many shows.
So I know one tour we did 136 shows or something like that. I just don't remember which one it was. So I know both tours we did, a good, around that amount. So yeah.
Wow. What So you get home, tour goes okay. You get back home, so you got a 4 year gap. Did you
Mhm.
try to go earlier than 2009, or what happened during that time period between the two tours? Did you try again? Did you work worldwides?
Oh yeah, so I couldn't get enough of it. And honestly, I had a hard time leaving. I remember trying to pack up to leave home from tour. And I I remember Miss Glow was like coming to pick me up and like to send me like, take me to the airport. And I couldn't get myself together. I could not pack.
Really?
Like mentally, I just was not ready to go. I wanted to just stay there forever. Which is, even though it's
Or-
funny because I think part of me was tired and exhausted from the tour, but the other part of me didn't want to leave the atmosphere of like the creative space and just like everybody, just singing and just, we became a family. And so, I didn't want to leave and I had a hard time leaving. Um,
That's interesting.
every year I came back. I came back to help with Worldwide. And I even got to be Chief's Girl Friday for a little bit, and which is pretty cool. Um, and I just loved being a part of it and just being there as much as I could. And and then I forget. I think oh, I ended up going overseas and from in 2007, I ended up going to lodges, to the Azores, and I was there for a little while, and then I came to McDill, and then I decided I think I want to audition again. Um,
Uh,
which I never thought that I would do it again. I thought I'd just go back every year and help, but I got that itch, and I wanted to go on tour again. And I was still single at the time, I didn't have any kids, nothing kind of tying me down. So I was like, let's go for it.
yeah, it took me 4 years before I wanted to do it again. It took
Oh,
me
really?
yeah, it took me 4 years. I
Yeah.
But I couldn't wait to do it again. But that's another story. Um, so what did you put in for your audition for the 2009 tour? What was your audition song?
2009, oh, I know. I did I did Gladys Knight's version of God Bless the Child.
Really? I'm gonna
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go listen to that now. I'm gonna have to
Which
go.
is awesome.
Wow.
So it's more upbeat, and it's more. I can't say more jazzy because I mean the first one is pretty, jazzy and sultry and stuff, but it's a little more, it has a little more pizzazz to it, I guess. And I remember working with Tracy, right? And she oh yeah, she is
Yeah.
incredible. An
Yep.
incredible singer.
Yep.
And jazz, is her thing,
That's your
so
wheelhouse. Yep.
yes. So I was so excited to work with her and she really helped me. She actually helped me with kind of like this riff that I did that I think really kind of sealed the deal.
I can
Um
imagine after working with Tracy, your confidence level went beep.
Absolutely, absolutely. But honestly, my first tour, I just going on tour gave me like I said, I was very shy and quiet, and that's just was my personality before I went on tour. And I did not have confidence in myself in general. And so that just really helps, just kind of propel me in the future. So
So
I
by,
remember Chief
by the
at
time you
the
got to 2009, you were like, you're just like, I, I can go on stage now.
Definitely more than I was in 2005, but I remember like it was so bad that I remember at the end of my first tour, Chief he said, when he gives you your ring and everything, and the thing that he said to me was, I remember when you were afraid of your own shadow. Like that's
Oh
how
yeah,
and
yeah.
look at you now. Like that's was something that stuck with me because I was afraid of my own self and I didn't know, what I could become. I didn't have confidence. I didn't believe in myself.
Right.
So it really just, encouraged me to, follow your dreams and believe in yourself,
Look at yourself.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Now I know I shouldn't ask this question because it's not proper, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How old were you in 2009?
Uh
Do the math quick.
yeah, make me do math. I was, let's see, I think I was, how old was I? 20, I was in my 20s, 25 maybe.
So you were 21, 20, 21 when you did your 2005 tour. So
Yeah, I was really young.
you were
Yeah, I
really,
was,
yeah, 4 years
right.
of growing up
Yeah.
between working worldwide between the two
I
tours.
think I was like 22 in my first tour. 21, 22, 22. Yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah. So you do that song. This is the song you got the Roger with.
right.
Who was the second place?
I don't remember.
You don't remember who you went up against in the finals?
I was
Girl.
so nervous. I was so nervous because I think I wasn't even, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. Like even though I was more confident then, I did not think that I was going to get a Roger. Like I did not even think of myself as like that good.
In that competitive range.
Right. And
But you must have peaked that night during finals. You
yeah,
must
I
have
felt
peaked.
great after that performance. That was probably the performance where I felt like, yeah, I felt awesome
Yeah.
afterwards, especially, when I was able to do the run that I got and I was like, yes, I nailed it, because I was nervous about just doing that, and I wanted to make Tracy, I wanted to make her proud. So
Right. Wow. But you don't remember who took the Wilco.
I don't
Wow.
because I was
We'll, we'll, we'll let
really,
we'll let people chime in on that one.
yeah,
Somebody's
please
gonna
chime
say,
in.
someone's gonna say, it was me. Somebody's gonna come in. Wow. You
Honest, like I said, I didn't even think, I think I was so like dumbfounded, surprised that I even got it.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't even know why. I just didn't think of myself as, you know,
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you're at the banquet. You come off stage, you're fine. The next day, I'm guessing the next day after you did your performance there at the banquet, what show were you on? The first night, second night, third night? Remember?
I don't remember. Um, I don't remember. I don't know.
Well, that's okay. I just because sometimes they always say the third show is the best show to do. You know,
Yeah,
night.
I
You
I
just
don't even
belong.
remember. So I think that team I was with. I remember Ricky being on my team and Janelle. Um,
Yeah, who you what base what command were you representing?
I was at the time, let's see, AMC.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Because that McDill was my second tour, yeah, that I was representing. So
So you get to Worldwide, you're at the banquet night, you're sitting there, they're doing the whole Roger and Wilco thing,
yeah.
and then because they always go, it's always female vocalists. Ooh, you get that big ooh thing in the crowd. And then they do the Wilco first. I think they
Hmm.
did the Wilco first, if I remember right.
Yes.
And then you hear your name. Tell me about that. Did you blank out? Did you
I
pass out?
did. I think I like blanked out and was just, like I said, I was dumbfounded because I did not think that it was going to be me.
Right. Well, we never
I
think
didn't,
it's going to be. We never,
I just,
people that have gotten that never think that that's going to happen to them.
I honestly, I was thinking like, I just want to make it on the tour. Like, I didn't care about that stuff. I mean, it was exciting, but I wasn't like, I just wanted to be on the tour again. And so I
Yeah.
think I was just not even like, that wasn't even in my mind. Like, I want to
You want to
make
win. So the winning wasn't there. You were so your priority was getting on tour and not the win.
right. Yeah. So I think I was just like, oh, I was surprised. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I remember everybody kind of just like cheering me on. And it's almost like slow motion. Like, is this really happening? Like outer body experience.
Well, I can vouch for I was when I got called back in my day, they did the Roger, the Wilco, and they announced a team right there at the banquet.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, it was all in the same. It
Wow,
was all in the
man.
same. It was all
I
in the
wish
same
they
night.
did that.
All in the same night.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember everybody was keeping score of what MagCom got what award and what the
Okay.
youth safety was always the good ones. And I was on the AMC team as well. And
Mhm.
I was in the middle of eating my salad. I had a big chunk of lettuce in my mouth, and then all of a sudden I hear unnamed get called, and all of a sudden I remember people pushing me backward and then lifting me up because I was still chewing. I didn't know what was going on. I
Oh
was
my
completely,
gosh.
yeah, I was completely out of the system. I was like, food. It was so weird. But I don't remember walking up on stage. I don't remember any of that. So
Yeah.
you get the. Do you remember who presented your trophy to you besides Chief?
I
I'm
only
sure
remember
probably the
Chief.
base commander. Probably the base
Yeah,
commander.
I think it was
Yeah.
the base commander. But I only remember Chief. I just remember focusing on Chief
Remember
because
going up on stage and shaking the hand and getting the Roger?
yeah, but I felt like I was in a dream state. Like
Yeah,
that's how
absolutely.
like my mind was blown.
Yeah.
But it was an awesome experience because it was so unexpected.
So
So
you get
I
back.
felt humble, honestly, to
Oh, how could
even
you not? I
get
mean,
that. Yeah.
it's bizarre because there's a whole bunch of priors there that are also trying to get back on again, and you were one of them.
Right.
So you're
Yeah.
thinking to yourself, you know, sure, I've done this before, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go on tour again. It doesn't mean they're going to select me.
Exactly.
I'm not an automatic. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the whole going up on stage and getting the Roger or the Wilco and shaking Tom's hand but to be fair, most people seem to blank that out. It's just so amazing and you're just surrounded by so much going on. You
Right.
just
I just remember I felt like I was probably like floating, like, if I could just
right, right.
describe it. It just, I felt like, yeah, cloud nine, just kind of dream state and just in disbelief.
So you get back to your base. You don't know if you made it on tour yet. I'm assuming
Right.
you weren't given any hints, any heads up or anything like that.
No, but I think that, getting the Roger kind of gave me a little more confidence.
A little
Like,
more.
I
Yeah,
think I should be good.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's folks that have won and not
That's
got
true.
selected.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know
so
because
get
we were
back.
supposed to have Ricky on our tour and he didn't I think his command wasn't able to let him come.
Yeah,
So
but he got asked though originally, but he got asked to go on tour, but his base wouldn't let him go.
yeah,
There's people
yeah.
that win that don't even get the call.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like because well at the time I had one person who did not want me to go on tour. And she
Okay.
was my superintendent.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah.
Was she didn't want to lose you as a personnel, or was she anti Tops and Blue?
No, she didn't want to lose me as a personnel. I think that was the biggest thing. And it was funny because at first, before I auditioned, she was kind of hesitant to even let me audition.
Oh,
And so I didn't know how she was going to take it. So I was a little nervous about that piece. I do remember that. So but when I remember asking her the first time and she was kind of like seemed like she wasn't for it. And then I randomly asked her again and she was like, "Oh, I never said that." And I ran with it. I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm gonna go audition." So I sent in my video. I was like,
was she was she just she didn't obviously she didn't want to lose you, but was she wasn't mean or anything. She wasn't mean spirited about the whole thing. She was, I mean,
no, she wasn't mean-spirited. I think she was just kind of thinking about personnel. And then at the time I was
she was
a,
worried. She was worried.
yeah, I was an NCO, and so they needed their NCOs to try and help with the airmen and stuff like that, and so I think that was part of it.
Right.
So,
Wow.
but I'm glad she let me go.
Yeah. So how did they let you know for that tour? How did you get notified on that one? How did you
That
go?
one, yes, I do remember the commander coming down,
Okay.
because my commander was actually a jazz enthusiast. So,
Oh,
and he was a previous saxophone player, so he was actually excited. So
nice.
I remember that, and I remember him coming down to let me know and just kind of share in the joy. Um, so yeah, it was exciting.
Well, I mean, when you think about the 4 year break, you've been working worldwide, you know how the system works,
Mhm.
you won the Roger, you got a supervisor that's kind of leery, doesn't want you to go because of personnel reasons. Commander comes in, he plays a horn. You're thinking, oh, okay, all right, this will work. This will work. So,
Right.
so you get to staging. I'm guessing again weeks or months later. How was that staging compared to your first one?
It was harder.
Oh, why?
Um, well, okay, so parts of it was harder and parts of it were easier. Okay, and what I mean by that is because you go on tour, and you have your mindset on what tour is like, and what staging is like and everything. So you kind of know what to expect in certain aspects. But you're also, one thing that they tell you as a prior is to let the new people, like, let them learn. Like, don't just on my tour, you don't want to be one of those, So on my tour, I did, last time on my tour, that gets annoying after a while. So I was trying not to be that person,
Right,
and let them figure stuff out. But then there were times where I'm like, hey guys, like, let's let's do this.
right.
But I was trying to find that balance. So I think that was the challenge for me, was finding the balance. And I think I put more pressure on myself because I felt like the expectation was even higher
The
because I
example.
was a
You have to
prior.
set the example, right?
Right, right. So I felt like a mentor, but at the same time, I was kind of back and forth with my confidence level because of it. I think because I was trying to let them, figure it out, but also be a guy, but also kind of be humble and
Yeah.
not seem too cocky, which I think kind of, you know,
Well, like you said, that's a tough needle to thread, kiddo.
it was hard for me, honestly.
Yeah. What choreography song wise was the 2009 staging more difficult than the 2005? I mean, 2005 obviously because it was a newer thing because you never
Right.
done it before. But so kind of like the sequence of how things work. But as far as choreography and songs, was it a harder from that point of view
Um,
or easier or the same?
I think so in 2009, the theme was to dream. And so there was a lot more dreamy songs and a lot more it wasn't, I think certain aspects of it wasn't as intense because in 2005 we were doing a lot of like swing dancing and all the crazy flips and all that stuff, which was very new to me. So that part was kind of difficult and getting used to learning. And there were some professional dancers on our tour also. So trying to work with them and stuff, which was really cool, but at the same time, I was not a dancer by any means.
Right. Right.
So I think that aspect of it was harder on my first tour. Um, I would say, yeah.
Wow. So, you get on the road. If you were to compare your 2005 and 2009 as far as level of difficulty on the road, not so much staging, but on the road, which one was harder?
Hmm.
More difficult, either logistically for you, mentally for you, whatever category you want to put it in.
Um,
I guess the simplest way to ask is this: was 2005 easier for you, or was 2009 easier for you?
I think 2005 was easier for me because I went in just blindly with no expectations, no, um just just going to do whatever, And 2009, I think I felt more pressure. I guess because, like I said, being that prior, and then also, I mean, there was aspects of it that was easier and aspect. I was audio, I remember that year, so I was doing a lot more lifting, heavy lifting, and which I actually liked. Because I liked the fact that I was being challenged more. I was also admin, and I felt like I was. Um, Also I was an NCO. So my first tour I was a senior airman, and then my second tour I was an NCO. So that also, having to be a supervisor,
Yeah.
and I was the not so fun fine lady.
Yeah. That's a topic I haven't delved into with anybody yet. The fine thing.
Yeah, I was the one collecting the fines, which is funny because so I'm in my office right now, and we're unpacking this office, and I stumbled across my fines like notebook.
Really?
Yeah, so okay. So one thing that's crazy, probably weird about me, and Ian probably hates, but I keep all of my I have kept all of my tops and blue stuff. So I have probably two bins filled with my costumes, my, notebooks, my binders with all the music
Oh,
and
I didn't keep that. I didn't keep my
everything.
music stuff.
And I mean, there was one, I mean, I had like old lip gloss, like, I'm like, it was gross. It was really gross, but
This, this
like
dental
mold
floss is
and
I
just,
got in
yeah,
Germany.
all kinds of ick in there. I had to throw that part away. So there was like some probably old, like, discs with like the music and stuff
Oh
in that I
wow.
had to toss because it had some, something growing on it. But,
Yeah. Oh, you
um,
guys had discs. Oh, this is
yeah, we did. Well,
oh
the CDs, CDs.
we had cassettes.
Oh yeah, no, we had CD. Um, but I kept all of that stuff. I mean, I have some weird things that I've kept, and Ian's probably like, why? Just throw it
I'm gonna
away.
I'm gonna do a Tops and Blue artifact show one of these nights.
Yes.
Craziest TIB artifact. Not your Roger, not your Wilco. A
Oh, I have
TIB
some weird
artifact.
stuff. One of my
That would be a fun night. That would
one
be a
of,
fun night.
one of my I would say I'm gonna share it. It's kind of embarrassing, but kind of
Well, this will make for good podcast. Give it to us.
great, good podcast. So you know how they have the big pictures of you like standing up.
Oh, yeah.
So I cut out myself. I
That's
know it's sad.
brilliant.
It's sad. It's
No,
sad.
you know
But like,
what? It's an archive. It's archivable.
yeah.
I mean,
So
it's an
I have the cutout of myself.
That's
And
hysterical.
so
I wish I
okay,
had mine.
the funny thought behind it, and honestly, when I kept all this stuff, I had this vision of what I would do in the future. And I thought, one day I'm gonna be a music teacher, which is something that I wanted to do. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna have all of these costumes and all of these things of me traveling, because the story behind it was that I didn't believe in myself. And I love to inspire people. So one of my thought behind it is I can say, you know what? Here I am, this shy person that didn't have any confidence, didn't believe in myself. And I was able to do all of these things. And if I can do it, so can you. And so that
Right.
was my thought behind it, is that I was going to post these up in my classroom and share this and say, you know what, you too can travel all over the world. You
Right.
too can do anything that you put your mind to and believe in yourself.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
that's legitimate. If I can do it, the old if I can do it, you can do it slogan.
right, exactly. I mean, I was like clumsy. I I had two
Shy
left
girl,
feet my
kind of
first.
clumsy, not real athletic, and then you got through it. You got through it.
Yes. Yeah, so if I can do it, anybody can. And so I just wanted that as a way to inspire other people. Was my thought behind it, but but now
Okay.
it's like it's kind of creepy.
Now it's in the bin in the corner someplace.
Right. It's got dust on it. It's been
Maybe a
in
moth
my
in there.
attic for a while, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So did you? After either tour, did you ever hit the wall?
Um the wall as far as yes,
Like 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, all of a sudden you're like, because everything's so on
fast
tour,
paced.
fast paced. You gotta be here now, in this close, that close. Bag drag, blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and then
Yes.
and then
And
you're
that's
like,
what I honestly at the end of each tour, and going back to my base, I went through seasons of depression. I
oh,
think because I was no longer around my people, the
right,
people that like I felt like they just get me. They understand this, silly humor, this,
yep.
you know, per, just creative mind, this,
When you get back
always
to base, and they're like, "Who are you?"
yeah, exactly. They're just like, whoop-de-doo, you did that, go to your desk, good
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
like
Press on. There's your computer.
yeah,
Get back to
but
work.
nobody lived that life. And so to come around people who have been a part of it and just know, just not just the performance side, but how hard it is, just the blood, sweat, and tears that you give, when you're on tour, and just the lives that you touch along the way, just how many people you inspire. And I just loved being a part of something so amazing. I remember like a family that was, stateside that came to one of our shows, and then they watched the same show that um their husband was at watching that deployed, and them just connecting and say, "Hey, we saw that show," or pulling someone, on the stage, or sitting in somebody's lap, singing to them that they remember, but then they come back and they're like, I remember seeing grown men cry, especially in the desert, when you're singing, God bless the USA, and
Yep.
um, I think it's just to
Well,
bring that piece of home.
the first time you see people stand up during the patriotic set, you're like, you're immediately touched.
Yes, you're trying not to cry yourself while you're singing the song, and just even the Irish blessing. Like I remember we were in the desert, and someone had passed away, and in all the wartime situation, and we actually got to sing the Irish blessing in the
Oh,
ceremony to
wow.
send them home. And I just like I will never forget that, and so just to be around those people and just know that you did all these amazing, incredible things, and just go back to your desk and just
Well, I got confronted. I had a pretty good supportive group at Dover. Both my tours were from Dover, out of Dover Air Force Base. And when I came back in '93, they didn't give me a hard time about it. There was like, they thought, oh, look, Mr. Rock and Roll's back, blah, 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 blah. And I always got asked, well, not always, I would get inquired about, what did you do for that 11 months? And
right,
I said, my job out there was so that Air Force members and their families could forget about life for an hour and a half. That
right,
was my job. Is to entertain them so they could forget about the stresses of everything that's going on in the world for an hour and a half. That was
yeah,
my job. And
absolutely,
and once that finally clicked in for my coworkers. It took a little bit when I got back in '93, but I finally clicked in, because they thought we had roadies and
yeah.
after sound check sang and got off stage, went back to the hotel.
Exactly.
They
I
didn't
think a
know
lot of
what they
people
went
thought
through.
that we were just a whole bunch of glitz and glam, and sequence, and I'm like, there was so much more to this. I try and explain this was the one of the hardest things I ever did in my life,
Ever, ever.
ever. Yeah, but the most rewarding thing too, because of all the lives that we were able to touch, along the way. And I'm sad to see that it went away, but you know,
But you're part of history, kiddo. You're part of
yeah,
history. Isn't that
it's
cool? You're part of
amazing to
Air
see
Force history in a big way. I mean, that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
All right. So you get done with tour, 2009. How does Ian come into the picture?
Ian, oh, Ian. So, so I met Ian on, actually at Worldwide. And it's funny because when I first saw him, I remember the first time I saw him in 2005-ish. He was I just saw him walking around in these like suits. I don't know if you remember, he wore those bright suits. He had those bright, purple and neon blue and suits, the zoot suits, with the gator shoes. And I'm like,
Right.
who is this guy with these gator shoes and these
He
bright
wanted to
suits?
stand out, didn't he?
Right, he did. But outside of that, he was kind of quiet. So I didn't really, we didn't really, we had short conversations and, but I would see him every year at Worldwide, but we wouldn't really talk that much, honestly. I would just see him in these cool suits. I just remember the mysterious saxophone player in these suits.
Right.
And I didn't really know much about,
Mysterious saxophone
yeah,
player.
that's how
That's
I thought.
great.
That's how I thought of him as this.
That's
Oh,
great.
sorry.
All
Okay,
right.
there we go. I thought of him as this mysterious saxophone player. Yeah. And and he had, I don't know if you remember, but he had those tips, the highlights.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's funny.
Um, but I didn't think anything of it at the time, and I had saw him. And I just remember one specific year where he came. I was a Chiefs Girl Friday, and I was kind of preparing the interviews, and he came and chatted with me for longer than I ever remember. And it just kind of made me curious, like, huh, okay, but
So just out of the blue, he started chatting with you.
yeah, so I
Okay.
honestly didn't know anything about Ian. I didn't know what tour he was on. I didn't know anything like that much about him.
Well,
Um, and how we ended up getting together was I got stationed at McDill, and then after my second tour, he lived in San Antonio for a while, and then he decided he was going to move back to Tampa. So he's originally from St. Pete,
okay.
um, in the area in Florida, and so he decided he was going to move back and go to school because he was a reservist at the time. And he kind of reached out like, "Hey, we should get together." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm thinking like Tops and Blue, oh, you know how we do."
Friars getting together. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, sure,
Let's go meet at Chili's. Yeah.
yeah, let's just catch up, talk about Tops and Blue or
Yeah.
whatever. And so, we had been talking about it, but it just didn't quite, happen. And then one day I just got a message from him we're gonna go out on Monday. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So we went out, and I remember, and the first time we went out, we went to the sushi place, and just talking to him, he was this whole other person that I didn't even know who he was because I
Oh,
hadn't had like extensive conversation. It was just you know how it is when the groups of blue people come together and
yeah.
just talk and
It's bits and pieces from everybody. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't really, so to see him in a different light and just kind of see a different person, that's just for me when the light bulb kind of clicked.
Like,
Um, but he,
oh.
I guess he had a crush on me for 5 years. So
Whoa, breaking news. Breaking news. All right.
yeah, so I guess he had a crush on me for a while, but I didn't know. And so, but yeah, for me, when we went out, um, the light bulb clicked, and we actually, we had a short courting. We it's funny because we went out on like in August, and he asked me to marry him on Thanksgiving. Yeah. 3 months.
Wow.
3 months, yeah.
Wow.
So I guess, I must have did something right.
You marked all the boxes.
Right. So
Wow.
yeah, and honestly, it was funny because he was about to go on a trip, a guy's trip to Europe, and I was like, he must be trying to seal the deal before he goes on this month-long trip. But
Oh, so he did that. He really before he went to Europe.
yeah, before he went to
Wow.
Europe, yep, he asked me to marry him in front of like 30 of my family members, which was, yeah, he did. I mean, he kind of he swept me off my feet. We both obviously had a love for music, so we enjoyed, going to all kinds of concerts and stuff, and just kind of fell in love, and yeah, he just. We got married in July. So we did wait a little bit before we actually got married.
A little bit.
Right, just a tiny bit. But yeah, we've been married see we're in year 14, so
Nice.
yeah.
That's all. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank
Wow.
you.
A TIB power couple.
TIB family. Yep.
Very nice.
Keeping it in the family.
In the family. All right. So before we wrap this up, I've got a quick lightning round.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. All right. Hang on. I'm making my little thing here. I think I got six here. Hang on. All right. Lightning round. You ready?
I hope
Favorite
so.
favorite song on either tour?
Favorite song on either tour. Ooh. Um, gosh. Midnight Train to Georgia.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, this is kind of like in the same venue, but a little
Okay.
bit different. Song that gave you the most goosebumps, that just gave you chills to do.
I would say God bless the USA, because of, all the stuff, when you see everybody rise and just all the
Right.
camaraderie came
I
with
would
it.
concur.
Yeah.
Song that gave you the most anxiety, whether it's choreography or
Oh, Dream Lover.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I ended up singing Dream Lover on my second tour, uh Mariah Carey, and I am more of a jazz. I'm not a really a pop singer, so I was really nervous to sing that song, and
I
it
gave
gave
you the
me
most
anxiety.
anxiety. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, musical influence, your most important musical influence.
Ooh. I'm gonna say my mom.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Why?
my mom was a singer. She's actually the reason why I started singing. My family, my mom she was a jazz, gospel kind of singer, and my dad was a piano player, and they
Oh,
kind of got together. Yeah, musicians,
that was in your was already in your DNA. All right.
So I grew up watching them and just watching her sing. She was my motivation, honestly.
Wow. I love that. Either tour, favorite show location.
Ooh, favorite show location. That's hard. Um, Hawaii is definitely up there.
Okay, I should have made a disclaimer. With the exception of Hawaii, I should have done that.
Uh, I honestly a place that really surprised me was Diego Garcia, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and lodges. I did not know about lodges. And that I ended up applying to be stationed there after my first tour and ended up, getting an assignment there because of going there. And we had an awesome time. So
Let's say, was it everything? Once you were stationed there, was it everything you thought it would be?
um yes, and more.
Really?
Because so the first 6 months I'll say no because I was decided to stay on base
Mhm.
and I didn't really venture out. But then after my first 6 months, I decided to just like immerse myself in the culture. And I went and got myself an apartment off base and I, went and just did all kinds of tours and I fell in love with it. And yeah, just had the most incredible time once I got like actually immersed myself.
Yeah. I just remember it was always windy there. Always windy. Seemed like it was always windy there.
Actually, it depends on the season because
Yes, I
there
was
were
there during
times where
winter
it was
season.
incredible, like amazing weather. And they had these awesome festivals that people come from all over the world to come. And they have the Run of the Bulls, which is so cool. You sit on top of the like people's houses and they just, you watch these bulls run the streets and
Watch them
crazy
trample
people.
people.
Yeah, so I had an amazing time there. I actually would love to go back and just, take my kids and show
Visit.
them,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, dear, before we wrap this up, do you have anything you want to ask me? You got any questions? The
So
floor is
yeah,
yours.
what made you decide to start this? I mean, I think it's incredible that you're doing this.
Nobody was talking. I,
Okay.
I miss everybody. I honestly, I just miss everybody. I didn't think,
Yeah.
I mean, there's the stuff on Facebook, but it felt like people were kind of like, going to the sides a
Yeah.
little bit. I just said, you know what, we need to start talking again. And
Yeah.
I thought, and well, to back up a little bit more, I do a podcast with a high school buddy of mine where
Mhm.
we talk to people we graduated high school with back in 1980 to see what their lives have been like since we
Oh,
graduated high school
wow.
in 1980.
Mhm.
So I said, man, that would be a great thing to do with priors, find out what's going on and talk to them and
Yeah.
kind of, relive the days and do that. So I just came up with it. Literally, it was this very spontaneous boop light bulb thing, and I just ran with it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. I think it's great
Ball.
that you're doing this. I mean, just even to sit here and think about it, I'm like, man, I wish I would have thought about, and I'm sure I'm gonna get off of here and be like, oh, I should have told him about this and this and this.
I'm the same way. I should have asked her about this. That I'll do the same thing when I'll be lying in bed going,
Yeah.
oh, I forgot to ask her about this. But
But
that's what the podcast is.
there's so many precious memories from it, and obviously, with every tour it's just like an assignment. Every tour is going to be what you make it, and I had to learn that on both tours. But I will say that I am honestly the person that I am today because of those tours. It really helped me to become a better person just in general and gave me confidence and courage that I never thought that I would even have. And even just, I never thought that my military career would look like that. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to travel and do something that I love. I
Yeah.
just, I didn't think I could sing and, be in the military. I actually, before I joined the military, I was going to be an opera singer. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, and I was kind of bummed out because I was in high school. I know, I mean, I went to college, but my parents couldn't really afford to pay for college. And so, I was paying for it on my own and I auditioned and I got into the school of music, but I was struggling, so I only made it through, sadly one semester. And and then I decided to join the military because I couldn't afford to send myself through school. But I didn't think that I was gonna do any music. I just thought, oh, I'm gonna be in the military and that's it, and go from there. But
Did you ever think about doing the Air Force band thing after tour? Did you?
I did. I really wanted to do the Air Force band, but I guess it just wasn't in my cards. I forget, and I had met so many awesome band members along the way.
Like
And
Libby was in the Air Force band. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
all yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many that
Aisha,
I've met and I really wanted to do it and I forget. I think it's just I couldn't align the timing and as far as when the auditions were open and stuff like that. But I just feel like, everything happens for a reason, God has a plan and
right.
I go with that. But I had an awesome career, nonetheless and yeah, I wish I could have done that and pursue it, but you know
And they didn't pursue you. Every once in a while, the Air Force band looks at. I mean, I know there was some friction between the two entities,
Yeah.
but sometimes they did reach out to some of the, especially the vocalists.
Yeah, I mean, I got to sing a couple times. Like I did let's see. Like I did the Air Force's version of American Idol.
Oh,
The
okay.
AMC Icon,
Oh, all right.
which was pretty cool. And I met some band members there. And then when I deployed, I actually got to sing with some of the band members. But I think there just wasn't any openings at the time.
Yeah.
There were some incredible singers. But yeah. When I wanted to audition, there weren't any. But I heard lots of stories on that side too. So, maybe everything, worked out just the way it should. So.
It happened for a reason, kiddo. It happened for a
Exactly. Yeah. But I did a lot of it gave me the confidence even to do other things. So like I went and I wrote a play and I produced that and I did that on base like a musical play and I got to sing at some pretty cool venues. I got to sing for the Rays and yeah,
wow.
just kind of some cool opportunities, lots of national anthem
Yeah.
singing opportunities, which is, pretty cool and I feel like yeah, everything happens for a reason, but yeah.
Well, let me tell you, it's been an absolute joy and pleasure talking with you tonight. And thank you so much for taking your time and letting. And what's Ian? Is Ian watching the kids right now? Is that what he's doing? Is he hovering
Yes.
over your back? Is he hovering behind you? Is he right
Yeah,
there?
no, he's watching the kids. I can go get him if you want to see him,
Oh
but
no, this is your show. We'll get to him
but
later.
yeah, no, he's got the kids, so it's our Friday night. We do Friday night pizza night, movie night. So that's
That's what we
our
get to do.
tradition. So yeah, so he's got the kids, he's feeding them pizza and we'll start a movie in a minute. But yeah, thanks for having me and thinking of me to do this. Like, I'm
No
humbled even
brainer.
to get the opportunity, and also I know like you said, the schedules and just even getting sick, all the crazy things, being flexible, but it's a joy to be a part of this and yeah, please keep doing it and I will definitely be tuning in and seeing who you have on here next. So
Well, my pleasure, and I'm so happy to this. And much love to you. Much love to Ian and the kids. And you go have your movie night, kiddo. All right.
thank you and love you too and love all my blue family and God bless you all.
All right, kiddo. Take care. Thank you, Aisha. Appreciate it.
No problem.